The Lizardmen. Big scaly guys capable of making spaceships at a time when most races are still figuring out how plumbing works. They're the ancient defenders of reality, created by the old ones to ensure that any race that falls to chaos, or starts doing things that could put the other fledgling races at risk, are swiftly cut down. So of course, what are we going to do with them today? Well, we're going to put them in a zoo. But before we do that, maybe just a bit of lore about what the Lizardmen are. The Lizardmen were the first species created by the Old Ones when they landed on the world of old Warhammer fantasy. Hailing from the dense jungles of Lustria, they're less a single species and more a group of highly intelligent reptiles that work together to do the bidding of their creators and fulfill their wishes. They were created as more of a tool, given the task of destroying other races and civilizations that didn't align with the unknowable Great Plan. In charge of this group are the Slann, a race of highly intelligent and magically gifted frogs that act as their leaders and keep the Lizardmen focused on their tasks. The Slann are the supreme magic users in the Warhammer world, only being bested by the Old Ones and the Chaos Gods themselves. They created gateways in their cities that allowed for immense distances to be crossed with a single step. The Old Ones then created the Polar Stellar Gates to act as a way to spread across this new colony very easily. Unfortunately for everyone, the Polar Gates threw a fuse and demons from the realm of chaos appeared literally everywhere, literally all at once. At this moment, the Old Ones called a mulligan and peaced out to the stars, their fate being unknown. The Lizardmen were left to fight off the demonic host on their own with the help of some of the other mortal races like the Dwarves and Elves. The Lizardmen did what they always do and took charge of the first invasion of chaos, taking on the heaviest fights. To help combat this, the Slann created monstrous creatures that we would call dinosaurs, but they would call tanks. This, however, couldn't hold back the tides of chaos, and many of the oldest and most powerful Slann were killed. They were pushed all the way back to Itza, the first city, where they mounted their final defense. The oldest and most powerful of the Slann, Lord Croak, then channeled as much magic into himself to defend the city, but it wasn't enough, and a dozen bloodthirsters of Khorne the Glue Sniffer ripped him apart. He was so full of magic, however, that as his mortal form died, his spiritual form lived on, and radiant light spread across the city, destroying all chaos corruption in its wake. The pointy ears then put up the magical vortex that banished most of the demons and ended the first war on chaos. Decimated and severely underpopulated, the Lizardmen fell into a time of isolation, working to rebuild their numbers and fortify their cities, because they knew that it was only a matter of time until chaos struck again. This is where we're left in Total Warhammer 3, the Lizardmen stuck in their independent cities with enemies like the Skaven at their gates. So what are we going to do about that now? Well, spread the love and cold affection of the lizards across the Warhammer world with some cool fun amusement parks, of course. Our goal is to open up at least one park on each continent, and since their map is similar to our map, I'm going to say that there are about 9 continents, because Not Atlantis and the Chaos Waste up top are 2 additional landmasses that I'm not sure if you've noticed, but we don't quite have. So who are we going to choose to be our brand ambassador and CEO of Seraphon Parks? Well, Lord Croak and his trusted head of security, Gorok, of course. Gorok taking care of park attendants and any mishaps with visitors, and Lord Croak, who has a neat trick to deal with those pesky labor disputes. So let's jump on in, shall we? Our goal is to first take control of our entry market, focusing on Lustria before becoming a truly global enterprise. Now, in order to do this, we're going to have to partner or bankrupt the colorful cast of folks around us. These are such wonderful neighbors as the homeless, competing lizard parks, angry custodial staff, whippets enjoyers, talking OSHA violations, the undead, the soggier undead, edgy elves, and the worst of them all, the French.
Protector of the realm.
We start off by kicking the squatters out of our soon-to-be magical headquarters and relocating the less fortunate. Ah yes, I love gambling. Damn. After dancing around for a little bit, we finally get to negotiating. Their demands are steep, but Lord Croak is good at what he does. A resounding resolution. The board will be pleased. Along the way, we pick up a slight flu, but begin our move south to deal with the unrest from our future employees. If fighting chaos is what the Lizardmen were designed to do, then curb-stomping 4-foot-tall rats is what their second purpose in life is, and by the Old Ones, it shall be done. After speaking to the Union, we decide to work together and bring Seraphon Parks to Oxel, and into our first outside region. Lord Croak has some of the best spells in the game in the form of the Deliverances of Itza, which we are heavily upgrading. We do that so when Ian Roxborough decides to renege on our agreement, we can smash him into paste. He tries to pop some picketers up behind us, but they stand no chance against our demolition equipment. We spend the next 5 minutes beating rats with clubs and getting Lord Croak involved. He uses every last wind of magic to drive these godforsaken creatures from our shores and get our operation back up and running. This further shows to everyone what you can become by picking yourself up by your bootstraps, hustling daily, and being a 10,000-year-old space frog. Riding the highs of our previous business successes, we do a wee bit of a corporate team-up with our competition to the south, where in exchange for money, we put off absorbing them into our business. This angers the leader of Clan Pestilence to the point where he tries to make a move. Gorok repays this by backing him into a corner, so he can gently be beaten to death with a lead pipe. The battle. The battle was devastating. The rats thrive at range with their hellish abominations, being peppered with plague claw catapults, slingers throwing their cursed projectiles at my poor unarmored front lines. What were they to do? There was no hope. Until I remembered an ancient saying. The opportunity to secure ourselves against defeat lies in our own hands, but the opportunity of defeating the enemy is provided by the enemy himself. And so, I waited. The opportunity would surely present itself. But then I forgot about the wisdom and remembered I have the deliverances of Itza.
Yes! Yes, destroy the rats! Kill them all! Send them back to their union with no deal! And half the original members!
Sorry about that. I might have gotten carried away with the instant win button. If they ever nerf these spells, I honestly don't know what I'll do. They're just so fun to watch against the little rat dudes. Anyway, what was the thread? Alright, corporate takeovers. Following our impeccable negotiating with the Union, we struck another deal with a close competitor, where in exchange for giving us money, they give us more money. We then approached the park to the north of us, who was being drowned by a damp vampire, and did a corporate takeover. Incorporating them into our current park, and you see, dear viewer, this was the high point. Our professional ambitions flew us too close to the sun, and like Icarus or Lightning McQueen, it was time to be humbled. The aforementioned Soggy Boy decided he didn't like us teaming up with his enemy, and solved that by making us his enemy too. Still not getting the memo that things are probably about to start going poorly, I decided to wage war on Clan Spittle, making this a three-directional war with only 2 armies. Things weren't looking too great in my newly expanded park, with 2 full stacks of people that hate me bearing down on it. I tried to raise a security force and hope the gates can keep them out, but like Disneyland with a Disney adult, nothing can keep these seething lunatics away. Things start going incredibly poorly literally all at once. Clan Pestilence decides that they won't be held back. Again. Luther dares to attack one of my core settlements, and because I was too busy expanding instead of managing the park, it gets taken over in a tide of bodies and gunfire. Then finally, the newest union on the block decides to ambush us during a meeting of the board. I decide against fighting my own battles like a true corporate shill, and they wipe out damn near everyone. I load up the memos from that long one turn, and instant depression kicks me in the nards. It's time to start recruiting lords, and hoping they can start defending our key territories, but, like, what's the point? Here they come, and heroic victory. Heroic victory? Take that, you dead scum! Oh, yep, he's immediately underweight, and yep, loss. And one more loss for good measure. Good, perfect. Okay, so this is where things are left now. We have a full stack raiding in the south, immediately followed by a half stack in a newly taken territory, a full stack conquering one area, half stack over there, 2 guys there, full stack there, and full stack on our west side. Cool, so you know what this means.